Body condition scoring. This is probably something that many of you are very familiar with. Good horsemen will be body condition scoring their horses all the time. We've relied quite heavily on body condition scoring because it's a really important tool for enforcement personnel and veterinarians to communicate. So I can talk to an enforcement person in Fort St. John, and if they tell me they've got a horse that's a body condition score of 2, I got a pretty good idea of what they're talking about versus, oh, doc, you should see him, it's pathetic, he's really, really thin. Just a couple of examples of extremely low body condition scores. That horse on the left there, the chestnut horse, that horse's body condition score of 1 was euthanized as being in critical distress. The really sad part of that picture is you see there's a little flower on its wither. That was left there by the RCMP officer that accompanied the SPCA inspectors. The horse in the Appaloosa horse, that's probably a body condition score of likely a 2. So where does the code feel your horse's body condition score should be? Ideally somewhere between a 4 and a 6, and provides lots of information and recommendations on corrective action that should be taken for horses that are outside of the body condition scoring of 4 to 6. And we've actually made some very specific requirements with regard to thin horses. And that's because thin horses are such a huge and recurrent problem. So if you have a horse, for example, with a body condition score of 3, you must take corrective action. And that corrective action means providing more feed, providing different feed, calling your veterinarian, exploring other health problems or issues the horse may be having, access to water, for example. If after taking corrective action, your horse's condition doesn't improve and it drops to a 2, you must call a veterinarian, and that is a requirement. So that makes life a lot easier for our special provincial constables because they can go out to a farm with a bunch of thin horses and they can say, okay, these horses, half of these are 3 and half of these are 2s. What have you done about it? And it gives them that hard line in the sand rather than going back at once a week or once every 2 weeks and just have the conditions not get any better. What do we do about horses that are emaciated, a body condition score or 1 or 2, that don't respond to veterinary intervention? As horsemen, we really need to think about euthanizing those horses. Old age itself is not a cause for disease. And one of the things that we battle with a lot is, oh, a doc, he ain't skinny, he's just old. Well, we know now that old horses get skinny, usually because their teeth are failing, usually because they've got immune system problems and are having problems with things like parasites or other infections, or they have some serious systemic disease. I was interested sitting around the code table. There were a fair number of folks from the prairies there that were maybe a little more hard-nosed than some of us folks out west. But they said, the other thing as horsemen we need to be doing is when we get these chronically emaciated horses that resist all our efforts to get more weight on them, we really should be considering euthanasia. I have a lot of clients that have horses in their 30s and 40s that really do become skeletons in the end, and I think we sometimes want to keep them going just because they're such a big part of our history and our family's history, but these animals eventually do ultimately starve to death. So it's something we need to be thinking about as knowledgeable horsemen, is when to quit.